Hi, friends. I wanted to ask you today, do you ever hear yourself wondering this question inside, pondering in your heart, is this all there is? A lot of the women that I work with know what I mean when I ask that question. They've accomplished a lot, they've been successful, they are living the dream, so to speak. But in order to do that, they had to learn how to swim with the sharks. And this shark idea, the Shark Tank, we know what this means in our culture. Our culture is very competitive, and the sharks are these ways that people go about getting what they want, meeting their goals, 10xing their goals, all these things. And the process that they sometimes go about to do these things, accomplish these goals, is pretty brutal. And the people that rise to the top in that system have to develop a certain kind of armor in order to survive. The kind of feminine side, the sensitive side, the empathetic side gets really shoved into one corner of your personality in order to swim with the sharks and compete with the sharks and win at the games that the sharks are playing. But the problem with that is it leads to a success that feels empty. And the reason why is because of this part of you that got pushed to the side in order to win at this game that you've been playing. So the achievement is real, everything you've accomplished is real, but the hard part is instead of feeling victory, you feel emptiness. And sometimes this goes along with exhaustion and burnout because, I mean, the sharks like to work 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and a lot of them do, and that's their life, and they love it. But for others of us, that price is pretty high. And the day comes when it's Monday morning and you don't want to get out of bed, and you're thinking to yourself, what is the matter with me? I have everything I could ever have wanted. And yet, instead of feeling fulfilled by your success, you feel emptied by it. So I want to talk about that today. I know about it because I experienced it myself. I worked at a corporate job for 12 years and I was very successful. I had everything that I thought that I wanted, but I was having a problem with some of the compromises that I had to make and decisions that were made that weren't just mine alone to make that I didn't actually agree with. And it all kind of came to a head one day in this, we were having a meeting about a mission statement and I was working for a hospital. And so all these words were going around, phrases, this and that, bottom line and all those financial words. And I stuck my hand up and said, don't we need to say something about healing? People laughed at me, friends. They laughed at me. What? Healing? No. And well, I was embarrassed. And I walked away from that meeting knowing I'm not in the right place. To me, the essence of what a hospital should do is foster the healing of the people that come there. But they didn't want to put that word in the mission statement. And it was after that that I ended up getting laid off and finding my way into the work that I do now. So for me, the story had a happy ending, and because I was laid off, I didn't ever have to face that decision about is this really the right place for me? But prior to being laid off, I was feeling very much like it wasn't the right place for me. But those years of living in that system that I didn't belong in, they were costly in terms of my biology. We know from studies that have been done that our biological system will begin to get used to the idea that you're living in this constant stress, this constant chaos, this constant feeling of war with yourself about what you will do and what you won't do and what you need and what the job is requiring of you. And so the biological part of yourself, it begins to get used to living in this high stress state. And that requires compromises for the body because the healing work that your body needs to do, take out the cellular trash, if you will, that needs to occur during periods of rest. And if you don't sleep very much, and if you work 80 and 90 and 100 hours a week and don't have time for recreation, these the body begins to store up things that it really needs to get rid of, and all of this creates a physiology of aging. And that's why I say that it's a default mechanism, because if you don't interrupt it, that's what will happen. And it's merciless. It functions because you've put it into conditions where it's doing what it has to do to survive. And ironically, the price of surviving is a shorter life. And that's why we see so many people dying of chronic illnesses when they're in their 60s. I mean, lifespan doesn't need to be that short anymore. But if your biology does not have the care that it needs in order to thrive, then eventually it burns itself out, quite literally. Dr. Bruce McEwen at Rockefeller University has been studying this for a long time. And he says when the body lives in ongoing override, it overrides its own signals to stay safe. And it puts itself at risk in terms of robbing Peter to pay Paul is an expression that we use, and it'll take from something that it needs to and put it over here where it needs it worse, but then over here doesn't have enough. And so you see what I'm saying, that the wellspring of vitality that is basically hormonal and chemical and amino acids and such, they do run dry. And when there's not enough to go around, then the body begins to decline. And then Dr. Coyle, that we talk about every so often, these neural pathways get this myelin sheath that coats it. And so these triggers that make you feel shame and guilty, and if you want to take a day off and you can't even really rest because you have these feelings of guilt that you should be at the office and think about what's not getting done. And heavens, when was the last time you had a vacation? I mean, a lot of people are living like that. But the exciting and the really wonderful part is that because it's possible to wire it that way, it's also possible to change the wiring. And that's what the living flame work is all about, is teaching yourself how to live in this condition of alignment with the part of yourself that does generate health and does boost up your immune system and does take out the trash when you rest. So it's never too late to make a new decision. And that's why I come to you with these stories, hoping that by hearing about my experience, it will help you to see your experience in a more direct way than maybe you have before, and understand that aging, as we know it, in fact, there's one researcher I'll be telling you about soon who says that aging itself is a disease. Isn't that an idea? And so we're going to explore that together too. And if it is, it's possible to recover from that disease. So today we're going to talk about the practice of, I call it reclaiming you, the reclaiming you practice, because that's really what you need to do, friends, is reclaim your life and live your life according to your values, and find a way to put yourself in an environment where your environment supports you instead of allowing your environment to destroy you. That is the tragedy that so many successful people have to navigate, is that their own success has left them empty inside. So let's do this practice right now. Think of a moment when something that you knew was right got dismissed in some sort of a group setting, or the powers that be said, no, you can't do it that way, you have to do it this way. Maybe don't pick the worst one, but just something where you had to make a compromise that you weren't comfortable with. Just allow yourself to remember that feeling of discomfort, of letting go of your own knowing in order to swim with the sharks. What did you know in that moment that you didn't say? Just name it. Just allow yourself to have that moment of clarity about what you knew was true and were unable to honor with your actions. Put your hand on your heart and feel your heart beating. And just take a moment, like we like to do, with just breathing in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. And as you're breathing slowly like that, just tell yourself, what I knew was true. What I was carrying was real. Even though it doesn't matter now in the external world, validate for yourself that you knew the right thing to do, even if it didn't get done. Just validating that knowing. And then say to yourself 3 times, I belong to me. I belong to me. I belong to me. And just let that reality sink in, that your first allegiance needs to be to yourself. Just like they say on the airline, put your own oxygen mask on first. And even though there may be consequences and you may need to think about these things and make changes down the road, for now, it's enough to just say, I belong to me. These years of swimming with the sharks and the patterns that formed, they don't dissolve overnight. But your willingness to belong to yourself allows you to begin to be more aware in the moment of what the choices are that you're making. And even take the time to think about, is it possible that there could be another way to move forward in this situation? And just that willingness to take that sense of power and agency back into yourself can begin to be part of the process of bringing your living flame back online, fanning it into life again. And you'll see even the smallest acts begin to build that feeling of inner alignment that's so, so critical to your well-being. So please comment if you like below and tell me about your experiences of swimming with the sharks and what you think it might feel like to belong to you again. Until next time, take care. God bless. Bye for now.